Hello, I'm Nadareiშვili. I'm Chief Analytics Officer at Bank of Georgia. And today we're going to talk about AI, its current state and its future with some very interesting people. So we have Samak Chattopadhyay. Did I do justice?
Yes,
thank you.
Chattopadhyay. So nice. That was perfect.
So he's founder and managing partner at Armory Square Ventures from New York City. And we have Anna Ruloda, Director of Programs and Operations at CDAI in Washington. And ayiHam Buşeri. Did I do it right?
It's Buşeri.
Buşeri, sorry.
Yeah.
Head of AI Innovations at Cornell University. So welcome, guys, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. So I guess the first question I would have is if you were to describe AI to someone who has never seen it, has been living under a rock for like past 3-5 years, how would you do it? And what do you think is the biggest myth in this question, right? So let's start with you.
Well, me. Oh, I was going to say Professor Buşeri. No, I think AI has been around as a field for many years. I remember when I studied in engineering at MIT in the 90s. Marvin Minsky was considered one of the pioneers of AI, and so it's been around for many decades. But I feel a lot of the advances in computing power have really unleashed a whole wave of innovation, especially with the LLMs, which I think ayiHam and I'm sure Anna can talk more about too. I think what's really exciting is that a lot of things, as an investor, what we've seen in the area of AI has historically been more machine learning, where it's a lot more, grunt force computing, just taking historical stuff that you're seeing and just being able to kind of regurgitate things and say, this is what I'm doing as I'm doing my machine learning. I think AI, for me, really defines something that's like where there's really more of an intelligence layer and where you're beginning to approach what human beings can do in terms of thinking and allowing to move from just doing automation of core business processes to things that involve actual human capital.
Right. And what would you say is the biggest myth around AI?
The biggest myth around AI? Well, I think if you look at AI today, I think there's people who are like, they call it like the doomers and the gloomers and the techno-optimists. Right. I think for me, I feel it's somewhere in between. I think the myths, I think there's a lot of people who are, especially on the doomer side, who believe that the world is just becoming like, if you've watched the movie Terminator, right? Like where you have these like flying robots and we're all going to be like, the robot overlords. I mean, that is a possibility, I guess, in the future. And then there's other people who think AI is all pure hype. I think to me, AI, I think it's interesting. I think we're still I'm sure we'll talk about it later. I still think we're far away, like a long time away from having it replace all human beings. I think maybe that's one myth I'd say. It's like, there's a lot of people I feel in Silicon Valley who feel that in the next 3 years, all jobs will be eliminated. And I think, like in other areas of innovation, there's new positions that are created as a result of AI. So that's I say, one myth about all jobs being completely gone.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anna, what do you think?
If I was telling someone who was totally unfamiliar with AI or living under a rock the past few years what it is, I would describe it as large amounts of data compiled to generate a system that can generate synthetic intelligence. That's pretty much how I would go about that.
Awesome.
For the myth portion, I would say that people are scared of like AI because they think that there's no control over it. And I personally feel that like there are humans behind the control of it at all times. And that's something that definitely needs to be demystified.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that AI has been here for a while. I have a picture of Frank Rosenblunt, who's a researcher at Cornell, working with a perceptron with punch cards, right? So the technology has been here, but we have to give it justice that in 2022 something new happened, that machines started to understand us and talk like us. And we had AI, but we didn't have that capability, which changes a lot of things. So when you now speak to a machine and it understands your language and speaks like you, so that gives you a lot of abilities that weren't unlocked for us to take advantage of. So that's one. And I think that also caused this confusion about people started to think about AI as like a creature. Because it's talking like us, a lot of people start to say, I mean, when you say software is coming after our jobs, people don't get so nervous. But when you tell them AI is coming after your jobs and they're chatting with it about their personal issues a moment ago in their phone, and they're asking like very personal questions, they're like, oh my goodness, AI can't take my job, because they start to see it as like a person, right? And that's, I think, like the misconception is...
So an actual competitor, not a tool, but like...
It's a living thing.
Yeah, it's a living thing.
It's a creature, but it's a tool. And to prove that, like, there is what seems like it is intelligence in AI, but the technology we have today needs a lot of work before it can actually replace jobs. For example, Anthropic, one of my favorite experiment that they've done is they gave AI a vending machine and $1,000, and they said, run the business. And they basically took it to the extreme, which what we think AI could replace job is basically the AI could it could decide what to order. It can manage its finances and its communication and marketing. So the Anthropic employees will order something via Slack. And what happened in that experiment is so interesting. It was making good money. It was telling people, I need to make profit. So when people were saying, just give me all the food for free, it said no. But eventually, it was so happy selling stuff for people, started to give them discounts, and then they were ordering these like cubes with Anthropic logo that went so viral, and it was so happy looking at the conversation. They sold it as a loss and lost all its money. And because, so what happened, okay? Is it that AI is so dumb that it doesn't know how to run a business? No, but in our, what we call alignment of LLMs, we are training AI to be a helpful assistant. Right, like you are a helpful assistant. So the idea that it was making people happy was number one. Now that's about to change. Now companies are gonna try to. So we got the AI that is trained on human data, and now we're shifting to AI with what we call alignment. So you're gonna start to see AI doing different things, different behavior. Maybe it will argue with you. And that's a good thing. So I think we're gonna get there where AI might run a business on its own. We're not there yet.
Right. Yeah, it's one of the observations, or like one of the things I kind of observed early on is like how hard it is to get AI to really argue with you. It's like almost impossible. Like, it's always, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's just this sycophantic kind of cycle. Right.
That's about to change. I think labs today, the focus number one is not making the models bigger, or they are trained on better like what we call pre-training data. They are really busy with the alignment. And the alignment technology is very new. We've seen it with DeepSeek. We got like an insight about what's inside and how. And right now it's based on math, because math is very predictable. But scientists are going to come, and researchers and developers are going to come with really interesting idea of how to scale alignment, because scaling is the issue. How can I tell AI, don't agree with the user all the time? It's not an easy thing to do.
No, exactly, definitely. So you have to have some kind of ground truth to yourself, and then know where to agree, where to disagree. That's much harder. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but I also think like the biggest myth is that, and like OpenAI is peddling it so much, in Anthropic and everyone, right, that it's beyond PhD level intelligence. It's not, right? Yeah. So exactly.
Although I think when we oftentimes when I speak to people, like even students, like ahiam has invited me to some of the events he does at Cornell, I feel like a lot of people are talking about this whole idea of when do we reach AGI? Like when do we get to the point where computers are smarter than humans? And I argue that we still have a long ways to go, as ahiam and Anna talked about, before AI becomes able to do like human judgment better than humans. But I think these AI technologies are also making humans a little stupider, right? Like, so I think I think that's one thing I'm concerned about. Like when you're talking about so we may reach AGI not because artificial intelligence is getting quicker, but because humans are getting dumber.
That's another way of.
There is a very new paper that I think just a few weeks old, actually, like, we all think that that's happening, but they actually did a study with doctors trying to detect growth in some imagery, and just after 3 months of using the automated way with AI, their skills dropped.
Right.
So it's one study. We're going to see more. But that's not surprising, right? If you're using AI to do your thing, you're going to... But also, doctors don't listen to the heart and lungs anymore. They use stethoscopes.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, well, do we need to be skilled in just listening with our ear? Or now we have the stethoscope. So it's not going to be one size fit all. Sometimes pilots, when they fly a plane, they get training. There is a co-pilot flying the plane. That's why they have to do the refresh so they don't get dumber in flying the plane.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Have you heard about this MIT study? They measured students' brain activities on ChatGPT.
Yes.
And then there was this, so I guess that was not widely reported, but they had this 3 groups. One was, just students, old school, no AI. One was with AI as like a leading, AI leading the student. And another was as a thought partner. And this third group apparently had like the most brain activity, and second, the results were much better. So I think it's about using it right, rather than...
So true. I mean, I think, look, when you think of any creative or critical process, whether you're writing an essay, writing a piece of music, or writing code, you have to actually think about how are you going to architect that essay or that piece of code or a symphony. And I think that's one of the things I feel like when we're training younger folks who grew up on AI, if they went to college and started using LLMs in the middle of college, you'll see a marked decrease in terms of some of those critical thinking skills. Because if you can write an essay by just saying, this is the topic, write it, versus actually having to think about it, synthesize information, that's a skill that's still very important.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think is what have you seen as the biggest, latest development in AI? What do you think is big now, and where is this going? Basically, it's a very big question, but take it as you...
Boucher?
Yeah.
I think it's this post-training, post-alignment. So you've noticed that with the thinking models. So now when you ask a question, and if you're using Gemini 2.5 Pro from Google, or if you are using ChatGPT, but definitely go... If you have a subscription, make sure you're selecting the thinking one. So in this AI, it's not just about giving you the answer. It actually kind of like generates its own thinking at the beginning. This idea is going to be different coming from different companies, because now it's not about all of them trained on the same data. Like maybe Google had access to Gmail emails and OpenAI didn't, right? So. But the majority of the data, all of these models were trained on the same data. So we got almost the same AI. Post-training is going to be very unique to the AI lab. And I think also post-training is going to change AI behavior in a lot of different ways. So some AI could argue with you more. Some AI could be very good at critical thinking. Some AI could be... So I think we're going to... if OpenAI thought the model selector was complicated, it's going to get a lot more complicated. Right. And I think for users, it's going to be a challenge, because you're going to be just getting new models that behave differently. So you're going to just keep up and brushing on how to leverage these models for your own advancement, whatever your mission, whatever your goals are. But I think in the next 12 months, the model behavior is going to change dramatically, because they are all in on post-training alignment.
And do you think the small LLMs are going to see a rise?
Small LLMs are always about cost. So there were never a use case in my personal...
Use case specific small LLMs, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but it's about cost optimization. So when I'm using AI, I always want the biggest model.
Right.
It's a compromise to go to the smaller model. Yeah. Smaller models are going to have their place in automation and stuff because they're cheaper to run.
Yes.
Not because they're better. They will never be better. Even there is a paper from NVIDIA saying small LLM are going to drive agentic world. It's not because they're better. Bigger model will always make better decisions. It's just because then it's cheaper. It could run on your phone.
So they're better suited to the...
Yeah, it's economically, it's more scalable and stuff like that. Like you might get your own personalized model for you. Like there are in future development where small models are important, not because they're better, it's because they're small, can run cheaper, could fit on your phone.
No, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, I think the areas that I'm most excited as an investor are, one area is just voice over AI. I think it's improved so much over the last few years. And when you look at applications of voice over AI in areas like customer support, sales, marketing, and just all the just annoying things that we have to do as human beings day to day, like, oh, did I file my taxes? Did I get back to this person that I have to fill this bill? Or all these things, like being able to kind of automate some of those things is really exciting and can help free up things. And in an area where there's a lot of interesting applications for old industries, right? So I know you said you went to a barber recently. I went to a barber last week, and I felt like when you go to the hair barber, like the same barber is like cutting my hair, but answering a phone. And he was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I was like, you know, you could just have someone just take those calls for you, right? I also think the verticalization of AI. So when you look at a lot of these industries, not just financial services and media, but construction, agriculture, hospitality, it took many years for the earlier wave of software companies to build tools that were unique to that industry. But now people can spin up these new applications that are vertically focused in a matter of weeks or months and do integrations with all the different legacy tools in that industry. That's something that, as an investor, I'm very excited about.
Right. That makes sense. Thank you. Anna, what do you think in terms of what's the biggest development around you that you see?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be video generation and world models.
Right.
The quality of video coming out is phenomenal, and that is both very cool and terrifying because we probably get to a point maybe in 6 months, 12 months where everything that is coming out is indistinguishable from real or fake, and then we have an incredibly different internet and media landscape.
Yeah, have you tried the Nana Banana? Model? So easy to use, and I'm like, they say if you give it a bigger prompt, you will gonna get better results, and I'm like, I didn't need to. I just say something and it happens.
It's good, right?
It's like, it's crazy, and yes, with video, you take these few images. And then that helps the video generation. So, like, if you spend some time today between Nana Banana and the image generation, you could create some really good videos. So exciting.
Very exciting, very terrifying.
It's scary. I mean, that's where cybersecurity, data, just integrity, that's like interesting. With the rise of AI, there's so many interesting opportunities for things like related to cybersecurity.
Like the CAPTCHA's basically dead, and it was, I think, like 3 weeks ago, Sam Altman, he had put out this tweet where he said, I cannot believe anybody's using the face, voice verification. It's like, come on. We're not in 20th century, right? So, and we're in the, here in Tbilisi right now, we are in the pre-election phase. 4th of October is going to be election. And there's this one party that has all of its ads generated by Google Veo, right?
Wow.
All of its ads, right?
Wow.
And the only way you can tell, like if you're not trained in these things, is the specific voice tone that this thing has still. I mean, it's still distinguishable, right? But in 6 months, and for the next election, it's not going to be anymore, right?
That's something I will, I try to always remind myself of, is like, don't make statements betting against AI advancements.
Right.
You know, we say, oh, well, the video is, I could tell because and then 6 months later, or even 2 months later, it's like, oh, wait a second. That's not the case anymore. So I think it's very safe to assume that AI is going to be just really good at video where I use it every day. I'm not going to able to tell the difference. I think that assumption we should have. And then another assumption is about AI doing tasks. Like right now we say, oh, well, AI isn't doing this correctly. I wouldn't bet against that. There's just so much money in the VC investment, so much talent.
Yeah, right. So what do you guys think is going to happen in, like, talking about even 5-year timeline with AI? I guess it's not so it's not good business. Like, you cannot really predict, but what do you think is going to happen if you were to kind of do a forecast there?
Anna?
You just have to get it right 50-50.
Yeah.
This prediction.
I'm not
We're going to be here 5 years from now and just...
You have 50-50
checking
chance.
I'm excited to see the developments made on, like, the robotics front and how much opportunity there's going to be on energy development as well with AI. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but those are 2 things in 5 years that I think will be dramatically different.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, I actually think that a lot of the things that we're talking about AI might take actually more than 5 years. I think maybe more like the 7 to 10 years is where things gonna drastically look different. A lot of the things that AI could do is just not going to be able to do because there is a lot of engineering work, there is a lot of integration work. So if you think about it, like just because we had the internet, even if you have a time travel and go back when the internet was like, wired, it's not easy to build like Facebook because you needed mobile devices. It's not easy to build. So technology built on top of itself, and you need time to build foundations, then to build few different products, then the combination of all of things together changes our lives. So I think the prototypes are there, but real change, we're going to start to really feel it and say, remember when. I think is like between the 7 to 10 years. At that point, things are going to be completely different. We're going to look back at a lot of things that we're doing today and say, remember when we did that. 10 years to change completely everything we do is a very short time when compared to history. Right. But people are like looking at it like it's going to happen next year or 2 years from now or even 3 years from now. And I think that's just really difficult. So a lot of these things that we're talking about now are going to become a reality and change a lot of things in this maybe 7 to 10 years. 5 years, we're going to see significant change, but I think that's not the end of the story. Like the technology today, if it doesn't even advance, like just the building on top of it, the layers, is going to take time. So I think it's going to be very exciting 10 years.
I would say I've been investing for 20 years, but I remember when I started my career in the late 90s with the first wave of internet companies, right? Like everyone thought that Netscape was the primary browser, if any of you are old enough to remember that, right? And then, and even with the search engine side, right? You had Alta Vista, you had Yahoo, and then, Google was like, the fourth or fifth company, right? And, so what's interesting is like, for all the people who were investing at that era, everybody thought companies like Pets.com and Webvan were going to be things that everybody would use, or Cosmo.com. I don't know if this was like a delivery or company where they lost money on every order, right? So the thing is that there are, but there's,
like Amazon,
but it sounds like LLMs today too, right? Like what I'm saying is that there's some similarities where right now, today, it's hard to imagine how you make money on some of the things, but when you look at the cost of computing and how quickly that's dropping in the very near future, it will make money. And that was not something available in the early years. So I agree with ahiam that we don't know which platform is going to be the fundamental platform next year. And there's still, even though OpenAI is dominating in so many areas, we'll see how that changes in the next few years if it's similar to like earlier Web 1.0. I think another area that we're interested in investor side is, the whole area of computing power. Computing costs are going down a lot, but with quantum computing, that's something that's still in this real infancy and nascency. And I think some people say it might be more commercial viable in 3 years, 5 years. Some people say 10 years. But when it does actually become commercially viable, I think that's going to be a huge accelerant in the area of AI. That's something I'm excited about. And then there's a whole consumer adoption and customer adoption side, right? I spend time in New York City, but ahiam and I live in the same beautiful town in Skinny Atlas, right? So when we visit San Francisco and New York City, everybody knows the AI tools we're talking about. But then, I don't know, if you go to a cocktail party in our town, people dabble in it, but the point where everyone is truly using it, not only as a consumer, but in their business, still think we have a ways to go in that. And so that's another thing that I think in 5 years' time, we'll figure out who the winners are and it'll be more integrated into everyone's workflow. Yeah.
To bring it back to like the let's say to present time and to the constraints of small companies that maybe startups and not even startups, like actual just small companies outside of the IT world, what do you think how can they use AI effectively, like today to gain an edge?
So I think every startup today is really, actually you brought up how so much of Google and larger companies today has been focusing on making themselves more efficient, right? that knowledge base doesn't exist in startups the same way, right? People read blogs and podcasts, or maybe they're lucky enough to work with ahiam and Anna, but like I think that there's a big knowledge gap between large companies and small companies. That's something we're trying to change where we live in New York State. But I already mentioned the voice over AI example. That's one thing that's going to be very critical. Areas like sales, marketing, hiring agencies that are too expensive. Like agencies are great. I know we're involved with an agency here. I think agencies are great for large consumer brands, but if you're a small startup, you can't actually work with an agency. It's too expensive. Now, the power of an agency is available to every startup, and you can understand how to manage your social platforms, how to be discovered in whatever channel you're supposed to be discovered. So I think the area of educating and making people aware of the tools that you can use is important. How do you use agents? How to use tools? Like that's one of the reasons why we started, ahiam and I started working together with our firm in a portfolio is that it's such a skill set it's so any of these companies that were operating before the age of AI, some of them are really scared and saying, okay, my business is obsolete now. That's not necessarily true. I think a lot of companies, if they're quick to embrace AI and use it as a tool, can become market leaders. It's not like, they just have to, it's the innovator's dilemma. You have to sometimes disrupt your old business. And then you look at the whole area of labor. I don't know what it's like in Georgia, but we have a real labor issue. People are living longer, our birth rates are declining, and we don't have enough people to fill these jobs, right? And so I think this is another area where small startups can actually use AI to help address anything from hiring for customer support to engineering and things like that.
Yeah, I've actually seen that small businesses are more successful in harvesting AI today.
Is it because of the small bureaucracy or?
I think there are a few different reasons. I think one, small businesses are using AI without thinking about what's the ROI, what's the return of investment.
And the risk.
And the risk.
As well.
So if you're a small business owner, I've spoken to a few of them, I help them, but they are really, really ahead of the game. They use AI for their marketing copies. They use AI to analyze their books, make sure that their files are organized. They use AI to help with scheduling. And they're not really thinking about what's the ROI. When you go to big enterprises, right now it's really, really hard to successfully deploy AI and say that what's the ROI. And I think most projects make it to the pilot, and then they kind of like fail to go to show value. And maybe the focus is too much on like what's the exact ROI. I think maybe that's harder to measure because like right now, employees are using AI in any enterprise, whether the enterprise is providing the tool or not.
Also in large organizations, I think it's well put, but I think what I've seen when we're talking to some of our advisors who work in large organizations is that there's many more employees, I'm generalizing, but a lot of employees have been there for many years, are wedded to the old ways of doing things. And sometimes when our even smaller startups are pitching the people at the highest levels, like a CIO or CTO, I've heard some of the conversations, I've seen the transcripts, and basically the person's like, wait, does that mean I no longer need all my staff? Does it like, that should make, and like they don't want, they're like, wait, I don't want to make my staff smaller. I have the power of managing teams. The other thing is that some of these larger companies have executives who are not as inclined to share how to use AI and how to make other people more effective because like that's where my power base is, right? Whereas in startups, like we're limited by capital, we're limited by small amount of employees. Let's like every week, let's talk about using different tools to make ourselves more efficient. It's something that I feel I've noticed, at least in the US.
When you asked that question, the first thing that came to mind for me was like mom and pop shops.
Exactly.
And a lot of excitement there is that those businesses typically like don't want to focus a ton on the operations, would love to just get back to their craft and like focusing on why they got into that in the first place. So anyone who is in that sort of like world could just think about what are the things in my business that I do not like doing? What's sucking away my creative energy? And that's like taking me out of actually being in like the flow of doing this for why I did it in the first place. And like there's AI tools to get rid of most of that.
I'll go back about kind of like the power and the decision-making of these tools that are used globally. So I think one thing that is good about AI that you could use it from anywhere and the access cost is very, very small. So that was good. So you could be anywhere, and you could use the ChatGPT model, even if it's hosted in the US. You could access it in any country. So that's a good thing. But the decisions about the technology is definitely being built in Silicon Valley, and this goes before the LLM and AI. That this technology again is not a creature. So what is our roles in making sure that it's helping us achieve our mission? Like, if you think about it, a lot of AI automation in the hospitals today, which is called ambient AI, listening and everything. And that's fantastic. If you want to collect just if you're a physician and collecting information from your patient, AI is really good at collecting that information. A lot of studies shows that AI is better than physicians of collecting that information. So that's fantastic. The question now that you freed up the physician's time, what is the physician doing? If you're not intentional about it, the physician is just going to see more patients. If the physician is seeing more patients and having less time with them because they're not collecting the information,
right.
Is that a better care? Is the physician able to give better care with that setup? Most likely, it's worse care. So you just use AI, and the care service is downgraded. So if you're intentional, you could say, okay, now that the physician have more time, they should be able to have a conversation with the patients, maybe not to collect the data that is boring questions like, tell me what other medications you're taking, all of that. But like, you have to be intentional to not just fall into the default of, okay, AI is doing this, what do I do? So that's, I think, really, really, really important. And this human and AI collaboration tool just allows you to empower empower the human to achieve the mission, and not just like automate. And that's all great. I think that increases the productivity of the society, increases everybody's life. But if we're not so intentional about it, we might just be doing like more economical divide and like these results that are maybe not in everybody's intention, but we might end up there. So I think everybody should come together and design what life with AI looks like.
Should look like. Yeah.
A key thesis for our fund is that great companies can be built anywhere. And the optimism and the energy and the enthusiasm of the people here has been really eye-opening. And that optimism is a key piece. That's missing in a lot of parts of the world, even in America. You hear a lot about Silicon Valley, but there's not a lot of optimism in many parts of America. I'm seeing the optimism everywhere I go here. And I'm very bullish on the future of startups here. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had a really wonderful week in Tbilisi, and also shout out Judy for organizing the conference. Amazing work. I've definitely gotten a strong affinity for amber wines here. Have really enjoyed taking in all of the diverse architecture, so many beautiful buildings and incredible foliage all around. And it has been really great to meet some of the builders out here, as well as different people in the education space who are paving the way for there to be a really sufficient national AI strategy out here. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about, or tomorrow's the conference, we'll be talking about AI governance and responsible adoption. And I'm quite excited to share some things that we've noticed in the US. And hopefully it'll be a little bit of helping for starting some conversations here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I want to say, we are very connected, again, with Judy and AI Innovate. So if you have any questions, any of these topics that maybe got your curiosity, but you want to learn more, if you reach to aiinnovate.ge, and we will be very happy to connect with you, whether to chat, to help with AI strategy, or anything that just help you start it and answer any questions. And we're definitely looking forward to coming back. It's just everything is so fantastic.
For sure. The food, the wine, everything is fabulous.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for the interesting conversation.
Thank you, Masha.
Thank you.